You're listening to Know It, Live It. I am your host, Laura Hansen Breksa. Each week, I have an insightful conversation with a fascinating person who shares their life mission, determination, passion, principle, or spiritual journey. And today, I have Ramona Siddoway. I had the pleasure of taking a time management class for creatives from Ramona at the LDSMPA conference in Orem, Utah. That's Latter-day Saint Media and Publishing Association. I was drawn to her class because I need to make more of my days, and I love to learn the tools to do so, and I am a planner junkie.
Yeah.
She gave a great, clear presentation and was so gracious to follow through with presentation materials, and that means she's giving, and I was excited to talk to her more. But Ramona is more than a public speaker, and we are going to hear about what she knows is right to do with her time, and hence, words, ears, and eyes. Thank you, Ramona, for being on Know It, Live It.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Got to start off with your mantra, which is, if I'm struggling with low energy or decision fatigue, I tell myself, just do the next right thing. But tell me, what is your sifting process to determine what the right thing is?
Great question. I use this mantra a lot, whether it's if I'm feeling down because I feel like my feelings have been hurt, I feel betrayed, or I feel I get up and I just don't feel like doing something a particular day. And this was actually a phrase I got from another author. I'm trying to remember her name, but she had written a book, and that was kind of her mantra, is to do the next right thing. And it really, all you have to do is say it and it pops into your head. You know what the next right thing is. So, say I wake up, I'm not feeling great. I wake up sick. And so maybe the next right thing, take a shower. You always feel better after a shower. And then, okay, what would be the next right thing? Well, I'm feeling sick. Well, get some food in you. It's very, very simple things. But say somebody has really hurt your feelings, betrayed you in some way, and you feel that angst inside of you, and you don't know, what do I do? You're praying, and you think, well, do I just need to forgive? Do I need to confront them? Do I need to just let it go? Like, what do I do? And then depending on the relationship, it will come into your head. Well, what's the next right thing? Sometimes that's just, okay, take a deep breath. Maybe it's read some scriptures. Maybe it's, well, I'm still in a relationship with them. I still need to reach out. Maybe it's a relative. I still need to call them on a regular basis. I need to reach out, maybe just send a funny reel that you saw on YouTube or Facebook, and just to keep that relationship going. So for me, a lot of times the next right thing in a relationship was, well, this is what we can talk about is, to be completely honest, I have a sister that she's different politically, religiously, everything. And we both realized the only thing we can talk about are cat videos and fart jokes. That was it. I mean, in terms of, we can talk about other things, but so when we've had a tiff or something, usually it's about politics or religion, we set that aside, and the next thing I know, she's sending me fart jokes. It's her way of, like, that's her next right thing, right? Well, I don't agree with Ramona on any of this stuff, but we both laugh at the stupid things, right? So it's kind of like that. So if I'm, say, we're doing time management and I'm a writer and I'm kind of overwhelmed with what all the things I've got to do that day, usually I have top 3 things that, okay, if nothing else gets done, what's my top 3 that I wanted to get done for the day, or top 3 that I wanted to do for the week? That's my next right thing. I have to call, make an appointment for something. That's the number one. Or sit down and just write for 8 minutes. If I'm not in the mood or whatever. There was a workshop I attended, and she said, 30-minute writing sprints are too much for parents, for instance, because they've got kids, they've got other responsibilities. But 8 minutes was like the right amount of time. Go figure. And you could get a lot written in 8 minutes. So you set the timer, do 8 minutes. You already kind of have a list, a backlist of things that you know you should be doing or want to be doing. And so you just kind of take a deep breath and it just comes to you. Whatever the right thing for you might be different, the right thing for me, but it's taking baby steps in the direction of your values that you've set for yourself. For me, it's writing, a relationship with God, a relationship with my family, right? Those are my top three things. And if you add a fourth, it's staying healthy because I'm getting older. And so movement is a big thing. I've got a physical therapist son who's constantly, do your weights. You got to, do weight training. That's the best thing for you in your aging years. And so, okay, movement. But what's the next right thing? Well, I can at least lift a few dumbbells, right? If I'm not I may not do the whole routine, but something along those lines.
I love that. So you have the right thing already determined.
Um, yes, it just kind of pops in. It's like, well, what is the micro shift that I can do?
Micro shift. Let me hang on. I gotta write that down. Micro shift. I love that. Micro shift.
And so it's just usually we're overwhelmed because we have fear. We don't know. It's like, well, I've got to do marketing, I've got to do social media, and I've got to write the book to do marketing and do social media. And you get yourself in this loop, right? And so you just calm down and you go, okay, well, I probably should focus on writing first if I don't have a book. I need to get the book out there. And you just kind of and it ends up that you just are smoothing out the wrinkles and you end up doing all the things in the right order. It's like they used to tell you when you were writing your to-do list and you write them in the order of importance, 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't know if I have ADD or ADHD, but everything was important. If it wasn't important, I wouldn't have put it on the freaking list, right? I don't know if you ever feel that way. And then they're like, okay, we'll put A's on the most important, B's on the next. Everything was an A1, A1, A1. So that philosophy did not work for me. So I just have to do my own. Okay, what's 1, 2, 3? If I'm overwhelmed in the morning, I will start and I will just number, not necessarily that one is more important, but it could be, well, if I could only get one thing today, what would that be? What should it be? If I could get three things, yeah, or what can it be? So that's kind of where that's at. It just kind of comes to you because you know deep down, and what you're doing is you're letting go of the fear and the overwhelm. You're giving yourself permission to breathe. You just take kind of a deep breath and permission to just start with the basics and be like, okay. And it just comes.
You just know
You just
what you need.
yeah.
I loved how you took care of yourself first and then moved on. And I once heard Marjorie Hinckley actually told her daughter, and her daughter quoted her. Marjorie Hinckley was the wife of a prophet in the LDS Church, of which I'm a member, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And she said, just save the relationship. It was in reply to a daughter who couldn't get the child to dunk his head or take swimming lessons. And she was frustrated at that. And Marjorie replied, well, just save the relationship.
I
And I've
like that.
remembered that. And that's what you've done with your sister. You're just saving the relationship.
Yeah, with one fart joke at a time.
You're doing what can be done. And at the level, you're just both meeting at the middle of the
Yes.
middle of the body, I guess. You're both meeting at the middle. And I love that. And I also think it was interesting what you said, the 8 minutes of writing. Have you ever turned the microwave on to cook something in 3 minutes and then you go around and clean something and it's amazing what you can get
Yeah.
done before the beeper goes off? It's amazing.
Yes. Huge sprinter with everything, like everything. I first actually discovered this back when I was probably junior high age. It might have been fifth, sixth grade, that kind of thing. And we lived on a farm. It was 6 out of 7 children. My dad, he grew potatoes, wheat, all of it. So everything revolved around harvest, planting season. And one year, as the youngest, he didn't let us do anything with too much responsibility, which I was just really irritated about. So we weren't allowed to drive trucks, even though we could. But so he gave us the real grunt jobs, right? And one of them was he would harvest the potatoes, put them in the truck, and then, you know what, might have been planting season. All I know was that some of the potatoes would fall down through the truck onto the ground. And my dad didn't want to waste anything, so he put a tarp there, and they would come with a machine that does all that, the planter, and I guess get the potatoes and then go out and plant a row, come back and fill it up. So I was supposed to take out the tarp and throw it back in the potatoes that fell out back in the potato truck. Well, I love to read. I got a little distracted and it was just filling up. And he came and, that was back in the day when you used the belts and just spanking, nothing, anything other than that. But I was punished. And so I got the sympathy from my mom, but then eventually I had to just pull up my big girl panties and I had to take care of the potatoes. But what I really, I just didn't like doing it. I just hated it. It was heavy and crawling under the truck and all that. So I would procrastinate. But then I told myself, okay, just hurry and do that first, right? First things first. Get the potatoes out and throw them in, put the tarp back, run back to the pickup truck where it was warm because it was cold at the time, and then read my favorite book. And so that was my reward for
Oh,
doing first
mhm.
things first. And I got so much reading done
Oh,
that way. And I didn't get punished. I got the potatoes done like I was supposed to. So that was kind of like my first introduction to sprints. And I would teach my kids that. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to clean my room. Okay, well, just turn on the timer for 10 minutes and work as fast as you can, see what you can get done. And after 10 minutes, that's it. And it worked. I mean, it wasn't pristine, but they would either do the dishes or we clean up the kitchen, whatever it is I asked them to do. Sometimes the timer changed, maybe we said minutes or but the sprints just have really worked for me, especially doing things that I'm not thrilled about doing. So, like lifting weights, it's okay, but it's not exciting and it's not enough to watch a show with it. So, my reward is I clean my bedroom and I vacuum in between sets. And I set the timer on and I set a 2-minute timer between each set and then a timer and I hurry and go and I put clothes away or I put books away, whatever I need to do, vacuum and then I go to the next set. And so, I'm able to get my room so clean in just, 30 minutes, and I love doing the what do you call it? We do 2 things at once.
Multitasking?
Yeah, multitasking. And it's in a way multitasking, right?
Mhm,
But it's a sprint for me. It's that 2-minute
mhm.
sprint that gets me excited. It's like, how many clothes can I pick up or fold or put away or how much of my vacuuming can I get done in the 2 minutes? So, anyway, that the sprints work amazing for me.
That's pretty cool. I love that. So, with all that time that you saved doing sprints, you have filled up doing some major projects. So, let's go back to those hints of words you hear and read. So, I wanna talk about that podcast that
Okay,
you've done for 5 years, which amazing for podcasts as I hear. I hear a lot of podcasters give up, actually. Did you know? Like, after a month.
I've
I've read
heard.
that. Yes. So your podcast is in a particular niche.
Yes.
Did I say that word like all posh? Did I say it right?
You did.
So
It's beautiful. I love it. I feel so bougie right now. Yes.
I know. Divine feminine, the divine feminine?
It's exploring the divine feminine. Yeah.
What are you exploring? What is divine? What is divine feminine? Break it down for me.
So the divine feminine is like a two-part. It's not only exploring the divine or the feminine side of God. For us as Latter-day Saints, we believe in a heavenly mother, but that's really kind of all we know is that there is one. We don't worship her, we don't pray to her or anything. But I find that fascinating because through research that I found that they did worship a mother in heaven, ancient Israel, for centuries. And it was only until the Josiah Purge, which is around 700 BC, he changed the temple and he changed the religion of it. There used to be a high priest that would go into the temple. He changed all of that, or the people around him did.
I'm gonna interrupt you just for a minute.
Yes.
Josiah Purge.
So it's King Josiah. So thank you. I do the shorthand. You know, everybody knows that. No. So during the time of King Josiah, and that was right. He was the king. Well, right around how the Babylonian attack Nebuchadnezzar came and took them in stages, and then in our own religion, that's the time that Lehi left. So right after it was King Josiah, and then Zedekiah was king, and he was kind of put on the throne. He wasn't, because they had killed Josiah, but Lehi took his family out, and he came to the New World. And part of what he was frustrated about was the changes in the temple, and he was vocal about it. But then the other aspect of my podcast is I was a freelance journalist before, and so I know how to research. And when I first started out with journalism way back when, they taught us right there in the classes to be a reporter is like you have to have your facts, and you have to have proof of that fact, because if you send it in to a magazine or a newspaper, they have, I mean, these were real fact checkers. These are not the fact checkers that we had today, right, in social media. And they would like check out you would have to have original documents, proof of what you said in your article. So that's the way I was trained. So all of my nonfiction books are footnoted out the wazoo, because I don't ever. That's just the way I am. I put where the scripture was, where what book the research came from, the author, all of it. It's footnoted because everything I do is research based. Well, so it was my third nonfiction book, but it was my first religious nonfiction book, which is We Are Adam, the partnership of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and what it means for you. And yes, that's a long title. That's the way nonfiction books read, right? They've got long titles. Because I was fascinated with Eve. I think we have a much better idea as Latter-day Saints, because we're like, we honor her.
We're speaking about Latter-day Saint women. Our women speak from the pulpit. They preach scriptures. I have spoken to congregations that pass through the chapel into overflow. I have expounded on scripture. I have taught, trained men,
Yes.
led organizations of 200 women. Relief Society, which is a women's organization, is the oldest and largest women's organization in the world. They are led by women. We have a children's organization. We have women's leaders in our church.
Yes.
My daughters are the fourth generation missionaries in my church.
Well, that's amazing.
I was in graduate school. I did have 4 kids. I was homeschooling at the time, but that doesn't
My
mean
goodness.
we don't believe motherhood stops us from growing. That's another
Right.
thing that people can have a misconception about. Can I just address that? So when we say Eve was mother of all living before she was even a mother, that's because it encompasses a whole different prospect of
Exactly.
we don't think women who don't have children are less than
Mm.
those who do. We don't think if you are a stay-at-home mom, you're a better mother than those who work. Please, if you have a question about women in church, attend the meeting and you'll see, talk to one of us.
Yes. Amen. Thank
Okay.
you.
I just want to take the side note. Now, please go on.
Thank you so much. And that's exactly, so that's where I start from, right? But I am curious about what is the divinity within us, right? We do believe that there is a priesthood power, and I think that's what the world looks at. The people outside of the LDS church, they see men in this, prophets and apostles, and it follows Jesus's ancient church, to the T. And it's like, well, how do women factor into that in a divine way? That's kind of where I'm going at. And it goes back to Eve as a big example. There's in the scriptures, and there's other writers who write more about women, other women in the scriptures than I do. the plan is, we follow what Jesus Christ has told us to do, which is in, the New Testament, and where he says, this is how you pray. This is how you worship. This is how you do the sacrament. And um, we follow that because Jesus told us that that's what we're supposed to do. You pray to the Father, right? He didn't say to pray to a mother. He pray to a father. So we do all of that. But I am just fascinated and interested in what does the divinity mean for us inside of us? What does it mean to be a mother of all living without children? What does it mean when, because you and I were both mothers, but how long did that last? That was what, maybe 20 years. And we were still mothers, but they're on their own now. They've got their own children. You talk to them once in a while and you still have that relationship, and you have a relationship with grandchildren. But now, what does it mean to be a mother of all living doing what I do as a writer, as a podcaster, as a minister, as a community member? So that's kind of what I delve into, and look at it from a more feminine, divine feminine viewpoint. Without eliminating, I don't need to eliminate the man. I don't need to eliminate Jesus. They're part of it. The way Jesus treated his mother, and the way he treated women, the things he said
He
about women.
defended women.
Yeah.
There's specific times he defended women against the apostles pretty
Yes.
strongly, which is
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, I like those stories.
Yes. Me too.
And I wanna know, let's switch quickly to how did Monica Rivers enter the picture of your life, and what does she do for you?
Thank you. I love Monica. So that's my pen name for my cozy adjacent books. And cozy adjacent is like cozy genre has very specific tropes and that readers expect, no blood, not a lot of blood and gore, if any, no swearing, no hankety pankety, about chicka wow wow in there. And so it's just like hometown kind of murder, I guess, which is kind of weird. Um, it's murder. And so how do you make murder feel cozy? So I realized that I'm not full cozy. It's more cozy adjacent. So it's a little dark, but not too dark, right? And so I have to put that in there. But I don't, so
I
it's
did buy
not.
the Kindle edition. I did start reading.
Did you start reading it? And the only reason, so she came about because my main mode of writing is nonfiction, because I started at that as a reporter. I've done that in the church and the media, and that's what I tend to gravitate towards because I'm a curious person, and so I'll well, let's write about it. Let's find out more about it. It's an article or a book. But there was a part of me that really was itching to write fiction. But I kind of mainly did a pen name mostly for the Amazon algorithm, because to have a murder book next to my religious book, didn't want to confuse readers. But I don't hide the fact that I'm Ramona Siddoway or that I'm Monica Rivers, right? It's out there. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm just like, if you read Monica Rivers, you know what to expect. This cozy, you expect murder. And religious nonfiction, you expect, good feelings about being a woman in the religion and all that stuff. So, and then the pen name, to be completely honest, I wanted something that had the same rhythm as Ramona Siddoway, had that same flow, the same rhythm. So I went on and did um, a session with the AI Claude, which is great for writers. There's Chat GPT, there's Grok, there's
And
Google,
I
there's lots of them. Claude is one that a lot of writers use more than others. And he doesn't make things up as much as the other things. Grok really makes things up. And even when you tell him, don't make things up, sure, of course, I'm sorry. And then he lies in your face. So Claude, I just went to him and I said, okay, I want a name. Give me some suggestions. It needs to have the same cadence. And he did a bunch of them, and Monica Rivers popped up, and I'm like, yeah, that feels good. So it's, not a cool, I don't know how cool of a story that is. I didn't dream it in the middle of the night, wake up and, Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. It's just and so Monica Rivers is an outlet, is all it is. It's just writing something cheeky, something fun, and it's really cheeky. It's not Shakespeare. Um, and yeah, and I plan on other books with that. And I plan on other fiction books that aren't necessarily murder, cozy mystery and that. But and I'll decide what to do about pen names for that if I'm gonna or just do my own name and change it, like RB Siddoway or something. Yeah, it's just like a fun outlet for me.
Everybody needs those. Everybody needs a fun outlet. Make life a little spicy, even if it's clean burger.
I know it sounds so weird. My husband keeps asking now, explain what cozy mystery is. What's cozy murder? I don't understand, right?
So, how did you know that the podcast, public speaking, writing nonfiction and writing fiction was something you needed to do with your life? How did you know it that you were supposed to live it?
I guess it just you always come up at a certain time in your life. It's like, well, what am I meant to do? Right? What is it that I'm meant to do in this world, have value? And you go to workshops or excuse me, motivational speakers, whatever, and they all kind of say the same thing. It's like, well, what did you like to do as a kid? Right? They kind of have you start there. What do you like to do mostly? And I've always loved reading and writing. I kind of always thought I would be a writer and I would change that back and forth because I thought that's, whatever. Anybody could be a writer. Or I thought, no, I want to do something. I went into sociology and social work and nah, I don't want to do that. But all of that was valuable, studying sociology and social psychology, which is the study of how one person can affect a whole group of people. I find fascinating. We've got all for good or evil. We've got those in history. So, and then there was this. I read this book by this Christian singer and songwriter that he passed away in like '96. He was killed in a car accident. And he said, your calling is where your deepest joy and world's greatest need intersect. And so, I mean, I actually have that quote up that I have it up on my wall because I thought, okay, what is something that I really like to do, but I could use it to serve people? And for writing, I thought, well, the next it's nonfiction writing, and I was always really good at it. I was, would write articles in the journalism program. It just came very easy, very quick, and they gave me the parameters, and I do it. Here's you start with a quote, or you don't start with a quote, or you start in the moment. There's like a certain structure to it, just like with any fiction and that was easy. Just tell me what the structure is. I can do that, but I had a way of, crafting a nonfiction story, nonfiction view, and I always had really good, feedback for the nonfiction. And it was, published I've been published in papers and magazines and all sorts of things, and I've always had good reviews on that. So, that's just kind of where I thought, "Well, I'm good at this, and I can pick up extra knowledge or skills as I need to, and I enjoyed it. So the podcast came about when I published with Cedar Fort, published We Are Adam, and the what do you call it? Kind of like a social media marketing manager or whatever. She said she always interviewed everybody, their new authors, on their podcast. And I think before, or after we were just talking, I was just asking her, well, what's the best way for me to promote my book? And she goes, well, it's nonfiction. You could think about doing a podcast and just do your episodes based around the book. And I thought, well, okay, I've never tried a podcast. And she just threw out a couple things, it's like, don't worry about the ums and ahs. You can edit those out, or if you don't want to edit them out, just keep them in. It's don't She just basically said, "Don't overthink it." I do. I overthink it. I do a lot of editing on my podcast thing, and I write it out, and I know it sounds like sometimes when I read it, but that's just me, a perfectionist. So and I found out I really enjoyed it. I liked doing the research and putting it in, and I got really good feedback, not only from women, but from husbands, from the men whose wives were struggling in the church. that were still faithful, right? But they still had those nagging questions. We all do as disciples, as women, as whatever. We always have one thing, right, that we have put on the back burner as we're trying to figure out. So, and I got this email from a husband. He goes, "Thank you so much because I don't know how to help my wife was with her questions, and you just put it out there, and that I'm able to help her. I'm able to explain, because he was a really good. He didn't want to gaslight her, and he didn't want to just. I think sometimes we get glib and we say, "Well, just have faith. Just have faith." It'll all work out. Just have faith. Well, I do have faith, but faith is an action word. That means you do something in the meantime. You don't sit and wait and hope. Faith is action. So that's how I feel like even and so with my new book that I'm writing, I base my podcast around the research that I'm finding in that and tying it in. It's like if I find something out really cool about a chapter in Psalms and how it relates to women, just really cool things like that. I'm like, look, our superpower is wisdom. Our superpower is delight. We bring delight into our relationships, or, it's because I think you're right. It's like we, we call ourselves mother of all living, and it is hard for women who maybe aren't married or women who don't have children. But that's Eve was a great example of, look, these are our superpowers, and this doesn't have anything to do with our status, like, or at the time, like, are we married? Are we and those things are important. I'm not knocking that down at all, but we give life through wisdom, through delight in all of our relationships. Right, in and out of our religion, in and out of our community, in and out of our jobs, and that's just kind of what I've wanted to do is I wanted to lift women where they stand and just be like, "You're all important, you're important."
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I think it depends on how you define mother
Yes,
and when you realize where Adam and Eve were actually married.
yes.
Just because they they lived together. Well, I'm not that they should live together because they were innocent till they left, so don't be thinking advocating cohabitation. But when they were innocent, they happened to occupy the Garden of Eden, but when they were kicked out, I'm sure they were married before they were kicked out and knew something. But anyway, so how do you define mother? I think that's the biggest question there, mother of all living, and all living is pretty powerful. So
Yes,
that is a pretty powerful calling or life mission. I'm not determination or that's all combined in that. You've got a lot going. And I'm glad you're doing it. It's very exciting. You seem
thank
very
you.
passionate about it,
I love it.
excited about doing it.
Yeah, I love research. It's like that's my superpower is loving research
Mhm.
because people could be good at it and not really like it, but I love it, and so I love finding the nuggets and then connecting them with something else that you think does not connect. That's what I love to do. I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is like this over here or this over there," and putting puzzle pieces together that you had no idea they were in the same box, right? So I do. I love it. So I will continue to write and I will think, and I try not to overthink the podcast and I get excited about it. And I hope that comes through in my episodes that I know I need to work on a little bit more. I'm kind of like this and I talk and I read my stuff, I feel like, no, I need to just be more perky, but it is what it is. I'm a work in progress.
Well,
So
I
is my
think we all
podcast.
are. I mean, we can just do our best and it's got to be enough.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what we can do. So all through this, what talking about that we just got to do our best and let the chips fall where they may.
Yes.
What do you do with obstacles?
Yes. And obstacles, it's like it's probably going to be different for each person. Obstacle might be time. It might be somebody in your life that's not supportive. It might be people who don't like what you're writing about or talking about and are vocal. What is good is the longer you do this, the thicker skin that you have. And that means for all obstacles. And one of the obstacles as a writer, I remember going to a nonfiction group, and the leader at that time was fantastic. He said, he said, as a nonfiction writer, you're an influencer, which I didn't think I was. Like, I wouldn't consider myself an influencer because if you put yourself out there, you're an influencer, you will always have somebody pushing back. You're always going to have haters. It doesn't matter what you write about. And but he was kind of the way he said it was like, that's a good thing. Like, that means you're doing something. And I've had, especially as a Latter-day Saint writer, I got an article in the Houston Chronicle on the religion page, front page. They did a whole like the whole page was like half of it was a picture that they did, but then the rest was my article. And of all things, it was suicide prevention. Now you wouldn't think that would be controversial, right? There wasn't anything controversial in there, and I did my research because my editor wanted me to do it because it's around Christmas time. And there is this myth that suicides are more prevalent around the holidays, but when I did my research, I found out that wasn't true. And he had kind of based this, giving me this assignment based upon that. And I told him straight out because I didn't put that in. I said, now you need to know that the research doesn't bear that up. I can't put it in there because I will have somebody call me out on it. Always. It always happens. So I didn't put that at all, but I did have somebody email and say, it's a myth that suicides are more prevalent around the holidays. And I just wanted to say, really, Sherlock? Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. But I didn't. I just was, I don't even know if I emailed them back. So, but they liked it, but I still had a couple of nasty emails about it. And they tried really hard to pick something out of it to criticize me about, but they couldn't, so it was really weak, and so I knew that one of them it was my religion they were picking at, and then another one, he was just angry at the world. So that I didn't know that the article had gone live until I opened up my email, and there was this nasty email, and I'm like, "Oh." I turned to my husband, I go, "I guess my article went live today." And I showed him the email. He just shook his head. He goes, "Well, at least we know somebody read it." And I'm like, all I could do was laugh. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And for some reason, and it didn't hurt my feelings. Probably would have if it was my very first article or something. But it's just, if you've been on social media more than 5 minutes, you know that somebody's going to come after you for something, right? It doesn't matter what you're talking about. I'm gluten free. Well, that's all a myth. Or I'm feeling bloated. Well, you should be gluten free. It's just somebody's always got an opinion. So having a thick skin for that stuff really, really helps a lot. And um, I think when I come upon an obstacle, if I just remind myself that's part of the job, that's just part of living life. Doesn't matter if you're living your passion or not. And if you're going to have obstacles no matter what, you might as well enjoy it. You might as well enjoy the obstacles there. And I have found almost every time that once I confront that obstacle, if I can't get over it, it moves me to the side a little bit and it takes me on. I'm still going the same direction of my values, but it takes me on a very interesting path to that I wouldn't have had otherwise, that I'm very fascinated about. So it's always worked out for my good, that if I'm doing the next right thing, I just kind of know now that somehow it's going to work out better than I even had hoped for. And it really doesn't matter what the obstacle is.
I love that response. And I think you're absolutely right. And in that ending of obstacles and going back to just doing the next right thing, the next right thing is to find out where my wonderful listeners can find out more about you.
You're so awesome. They can check out my website, ramonasiddoway.com. On there, I have both my fiction and nonfiction. You just click on the tabs, pretty easy. And you can find my podcast anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. I record on Buzzsprout, but it just automatically sends it to Apple and what are all of them? There's like 15. This random. The majority of people I think listen on Apple Podcasts or something. So yeah, you just look that up, exploring the divine feminine. Like I said, everything's research based. I don't do a lot of speculation in my stuff. I'm very much with you. It's like we don't make up. We can have inspiration for our personal lives through reading scripture, which is different. Reading a scripture and it doesn't have anything to do with the context of what's going on in that passage. But in our lives, we're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I don't like to speculate on anything, on Heavenly Father, on Jesus Christ, on if I say something, usually it's backed up, right? With what scholars have said, what scriptures have said. And you might not agree with the scholar, which is fine. I find it fascinating, some of the things. So you can find me on the podcast, find me on my website. I also write on medium.com, which is uh, it's like a writing forum, kind of like Substack, and I'll probably get onto Substack too. But Medium, you can read most of my stuff for free. Some of it is behind a paywall that you'll need to become a member, but all of the money goes to writers. It goes straight to the writers, which is very unusual. Substack is changing. It's not doing that as much, but Medium's staying the same. Is that you pay for a membership, all of the money goes to the writers. And that's not a very common thing. So that's kind of where you can find me so far until I
And
try
your books
something
are
new.
sold on and your book
Books are sold on Amazon. Yeah, you can get them there.
and your latest title is called?
So the Monica Rivers one, that is Too Grim for Fairy Tales, A Mormon Woman's Guide to Murder.
Cute instead of Grimm's Fairy Tales. I got that. I got
So, and it's just a character that I just came up with that she's, talking about the whole thing about we're supposed to be moms and know to sew and can and all that. She's kind of creeping on to middle age, never married, doesn't have kids. She can't cook. She can't sew. She can't do anything that what you would think a traditional Mormon or a Latter-day Saint woman should, but she can write and she likes to stick her nose in things. That's kind of so the first book is like her friends are trying to get her to stop cooking because she just, food poisoning and all that other stuff with people. And the second book, she's going to try, she says, well, maybe quilting is my thing. And I just kind of go through all the things that I do love to quilt. So I don't have an issue with that. But people who they feel like, what am I supposed to do? Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm meant to be a quilter. Maybe I'm meant to, she can't play an instrument for her life. She just can't do anything that's traditional. And I just thought that would speak to all of us because even though we have our talents, there's always that little ache when we see somebody else who can. I went to a stained glass making class with a couple of friends, and first time either one of us had done it. One of my friends, she's plays piano beautifully, all of her children and are in music, famous choirs and all that. That's her thing. And the other one, she does lots of different things. She's retired now. But as we're doing this, first timers, and the teacher was like, just be easy on yourself. It's hard to do the lead part, that's in between the glass. It got done. And the teacher, she looks at mine, she goes, okay, I'll be honest, you're a hot mess.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And I just had to laugh because my friend who played the piano, gorgeous, like smooth, like she'd been doing it forever. And I feel like piano players tend to have more dexterity with a lot of craft things. And so, but she's just one of those people that she picks up something the first time and it's beautiful. Doesn't matter what she's doing. Like
And you
it's
love
just as
her.
that. Yeah, I do. And she's fun and she's funny, but so I think, but all of us, even I know I write, can do public speaking and teaching and all that, but still, part of me is like, I wish I could make stained glass pictures or play the piano better than I do, and it's just those kind of things. So that's kind of where that character came around of just like, you know what, you just laugh at yourself. She's a hot mess. I'm a hot mess, but you know what, it's fine. We just do the next right thing, right?
Not wearing a holster with a glue gun. So thank you for listening. Visit knowitliveit.net for the latest scoops, recaps, and more. Remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to this podcast. Don't miss an episode with fascinating people who live what they know.